The exhausted Red Army continued to strike back at the invading Nazi behemoth as the third week of August 1941 began. Some counterattacks showed promise, but most turned into costly retreats. Army Group North renewed its push toward Leningrad, while Guderian's forces pivoted south, threatening Kyiv. This week covers August 17th to 24th, focusing on the escalating battle for Kyiv and the Luftwaffe's struggle to dominate the skies. The Soviet Air Force, or VVS, had been devastated in June, but by August it began to recover. On August 7th, it launched a symbolic raid on Berlin, followed by another on August 10th. Both caused little damage, but their very execution demonstrated Soviet resilience. Meanwhile, the Luftwaffe struggled to replenish losses as resources were stretched between the Eastern Front, North Africa, and defending Germany from British bombers. On the Eastern Front, the Luftwaffe faced increasing logistical difficulties. Forward airfields were crude and undersupplied, leaving pilots and planes strained. The 1st and 8th Air Corps bombarded Leningrad's approaches relentlessly, but a shortage of planes and men diluted their effectiveness. The VVS was battered but far from destroyed, continuing to contest the skies wherever possible. Air battles raged, especially over key river crossings, lifelines for both sides. For the Wehrmacht, bridges sustained the advance. For the Red Army, they enabled retreat and reinforcements. Both Luftwaffe and VVS prioritized them, turning these structures into critical battlegrounds. In the north, brutal fighting engulfed Velikiye Luki. Hoth's 3rd Panzer Group, reinforced with infantry and tanks, launched a set-piece assault against Zhukov's 22nd Army. By August 22nd, German forces broke through, cutting vital Soviet supply lines. To the west, Vatutin's offensive near Lake Ilmen initially pushed the Germans back, but soon stalled. On August 19th, Manstein counterattacked with devastating force, catching Vatutin off guard. The Red Army was driven back to its starting positions, suffering heavy losses. Yet the offensive was not entirely in vain. It forced Army Group North to divert strength away from Leningrad, weakening the main effort. This diversion violated the German principle of the Schwerpunkt, or main effort. Leningrad was the strategic objective, but Lieb had weakened his forces to shore up his flank. The loss of momentum here was a serious blow to the German campaign, as precious time and strength were wasted. Meanwhile, in the center, the Yelna Salient became the focus of Zhukov's attacks. Granted priority by Stalin, Zhukov relentlessly hammered the German lines. Although his offensive stalled on August 21st due to exhaustion, he had forced Army Group Center into a defensive posture, draining its strength before the next Soviet counteroffensive. For Bach, commander of Army Group Center, this was a bitter pill. Already frustrated by the diversion of panzer forces to other sectors, he now faced attritional battles he never wanted. Moscow, his true objective, slipped further from reach. His resentment grew toward Hitler and the OKH for denying him the resources he demanded. At the same time, Timoshenko was preparing another major counterattack against Army Group Center. Both sides entered an operational pause, having battered each other for nearly 2 months. But in the south, the real drama was only beginning. Guderian's 2nd Panzer Group was now the centerpiece of Hitler's strategy. After capturing Gomel on August 19th, Hitler ordered him to drive south toward Kyiv. The plan was ambitious. Guderian from the north and Kleist from the south would encircle the Soviet southwestern front in one of history's largest battles. Not all German commanders supported the plan. Bach and Halder opposed it, fearing it would divert attention from Moscow. But Hitler, convinced of his own genius, dismissed their objections. He believed victory in Ukraine's resource-rich lands was essential, and his will prevailed. Yet even Guderian's panzers were faltering. By late August, fuel shortages, mechanical breakdowns, and exhaustion plagued his divisions. The once powerful 4th Panzer Division had been reduced to a fraction of its strength. Schweppenberg's corps struggled to advance, with units reporting almost no fuel and catastrophic losses of equipment. Despite this, on August 23rd, Hitler ordered Guderian to push south to meet Kleist's 1st Panzer Group advancing from Kremenchuk. The Germans hoped to close the trap around Kyiv, but it was clear their forces were overstretched and worn down by weeks of nonstop campaigning. Meanwhile, the Red Army's southwestern front under Kirponos was still formidable in manpower, though drained of armor. At the war's start, it had fielded over 4,000 tanks. Now only one weak division remained. Infantry lines held, but Soviet mobile reserves were nearly gone, making them vulnerable to German encirclement tactics. By mid-August, even weakened Soviet units showed growing resilience. Soldiers who had once fled now stood and fought, trading space for time. Veterans were forged in these battles, and German commanders increasingly realized the Red Army would not collapse as expected. Still, mobility was the decisive factor. The Wehrmacht retained the ability to form corps-size mobile groups capable of deep penetrations, something the Soviets could not yet replicate. Until this imbalance changed, German encirclements remained a constant threat. As August closed, the stage was set for a decisive battle around Kyiv. The Soviets, bloodied but unbroken, prepared for another test of survival. The Germans, worn down yet determined, pressed forward with Hitler's plan for encirclement. Both sides braced for a confrontation that could shape the entire campaign. The coming clash would determine whether the Wehrmacht could maintain its momentum, or whether the Red Army's growing resilience would finally blunt the Nazi advance. Kyiv was no longer just a city, it was the key to the southern front, and the fate of hundreds of thousands of men hung in the balance. And so, as August 1941 drew to a close, the Eastern Front teetered on a knife's edge. The Luftwaffe strained in the skies, Soviet counterattacks tested German lines, and Hitler's ambitions pulled his armies in conflicting directions. The next chapter of the war was about to unfold in fire and steel. Stay tuned as we continue our week-by-week account of the Eastern Front, tracking the war's brutal course from 1941 to 1945. Subscribe, comment, and share to support our work, and we'll see you in the next episode.